In the cold, unforgiving void of the Orion Spur, humanity was a footnote, a scrappy species clinging to existence on isolated outposts. On Aegis 7, a remote refinery station orbiting a gas giant, that existence depended on one thing: the steady hum of machinery. And that machinery depended on Elias Vance. He was a master mechanic, a man who spoke the language of failing power couplings and strained plasma conduits better than he spoke to people. His world was one of grease, ozone, and the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. It was a world about to be shattered, not by an asteroid or a reactor breach, but by a delivery, a gift, an insult. The ship that arrived was a work of art, a vessel of polished chrome and obsidian forged by the Xylos Imperium. The Xylos, a species obsessed with genetic purity and physical perfection, saw humanity as little more than clever apes. Their arrival was not a sign of friendship. It was a power play. Station Commander Eva Rostova met Elias in the observation deck, her face a mask of barely controlled fury. They sent her as a joke, Elias. A diplomatic insult wrapped in royal silk. Elias watched the Xylos vessel dock with contemptuous grace. We asked for replacement geothermal converters. We're running on fumes. Instead, Rostova spat, Emperor Kaelen has gifted us his third daughter, Princess Thalia, as a gesture of interspecies goodwill. He knows we can't refuse her without causing a galactic incident. The airlock hissed open. The Xylos delegation glided out, tall, impossibly slender, their movements a symphony of genetic perfection. Between them walked the princess. She was Xylos, no doubt, with their signature silver skin and luminous violet eyes, but she lacked their severe, angular grace. Where they were sharp lines, she was soft curves. In a culture that worshipped austerity, she was substantial, a flaw, a walking, breathing rejection of everything her people held dear. In her eyes, Elias saw a familiar loneliness, the weary resignation of the perpetually underestimated. Elias Vance, Rostova commanded, her voice tight. You're in charge of her. Find her quarters. Keep her out of the way. I have a diplomatic mess to handle. He approached her after the commander had swept away. The air around the princess was thick with the silent judgment of her own guards. Princess Thalia, Elias said, his voice rough from years of disuse. I'm Elias. I'll show you to your quarters. She studied him, her violet eyes holding a depth of intelligence that startled him. Her voice, when she spoke, was not weak or apologetic, but a low, melodic tone that resonated with quiet power. I am aware I am not the geothermal converter you were expecting, Mechanic Vance. My apologies for the inconvenience. The sarcasm was so subtle, so perfectly delivered it was almost missed. Elias felt an unexpected smirk tug at his lips. He led her to a converted storage bay, stark, functional, and grim. A single viewport looked out onto the swirling chaos of the gas giant below. The royal palace on Xylos has 1,000 staterooms, each carved from a single crystal, she said, her voice devoid of emotion as she surveyed the cramped space. My father gave me the one next to the waste reclamation vents. This is an improvement. Something in Elias's chest, a gear that had been seized for years, clicked into place. While you're here, he said, turning to face her fully, no one gives you trouble. They have a problem with you. They come through me. Her eyes widened, searching his face for the trick, the angle. Why? You are a mechanic. I am a political burden. I fix things, Elias said simply. And I can tell the difference between something that's broken and something that's just been deliberately misused. Over the next few weeks, a strange routine formed. Thalia, largely ignored by the station's crew, began to appear in his workshop. She never spoke at first. She just watched, her violet eyes tracking his every move as he wrestled with aging machinery. One day, the primary atmospheric regulator began to shudder, its diagnostic screen a cascade of incomprehensible errors. Elias swore, slamming his fist against the console. The resonance frequency is off, a quiet voice said from behind him. He turned. Thalia was pointing a slender finger at a tiny data stream he had overlooked. The harmonic balancer is degrading. It's creating ghost signals. If you recalibrate the primary sensor to ignore frequencies below 0.02 terahertz, the true error will reveal itself. Elias stared at her, then at the screen. He typed in the command. The sea of red errors vanished, replaced by a single blinking alert. A failing capacitor. Simple. Obvious now that he saw it. How did you know that? He asked, his voice full of awe. My tutors considered me a disappointment in the physical arts, she said, a ghost of a smile on her lips. So I was permitted to study other things, trivial things, quantum engineering, theoretical physics, systems diagnostics. Elias felt a surge of indignation. Trivial? Princess, you just saved this station 3 days of diagnostics and a potential life support failure. My father calls it an unfortunate hobby for one of my lineage, she replied, the smile never quite reaching her eyes. The station's luck ran out. Not with a bang, but a groan. The core geothermal tap, the very heart of Aegis 7, began to fluctuate wildly. Power grids flickered. Life support warnings blared across the station. It was the failure Elias had warned Rostova about for months. The converters they'd begged the Xylos for were not just a request. They were a lifeline. And right on cue, another Xylos ship arrived. This one was a warship. From it emerged Lord Vorlog, the Emperor's most feared inquisitor, a Xylos so sharp and severe he looked like he'd been carved from ice and shadow. He wasn't here to help. He was here to watch them die. Commander Rostova. Vorlog's voice was like grinding glass. Your station is failing, a testament to human inefficiency. My Emperor is disappointed. He feels his gift was wasted on a colony so clearly destined for ruin. His gaze fell upon Thalia, who stood beside Elias, a silent specter of imperial shame. This is not a failure of inefficiency, Elias countered, stepping forward. This is a failure of supply. We requested aid. You sent a princess. Vorlog's thin lips curled into a sneer. And now you will be tested. I have prepared a simulation, a diagnostic challenge, a cascading systems failure far more complex than your current predicament. Solve it, and my Emperor might reconsider your colony's value. Fail, and we will merely observe your inevitable extinction. He projected a schematic into the air. It was a nightmare, a web of interconnected failures designed to mislead and overwhelm. You have 1 standard hour, Vorlog declared. An eternity for a true Xylos engineer. Let us see what the clever apes and their flawed princess can accomplish. The station's best engineers stared at the schematic in horror. It's impossible, one whispered. It's a trap. No, Thalia said, her voice cutting through the panic. It's not impossible. It's just arrogant. She turned to Elias, her eyes blazing with a fire he had never seen. Mechanic Vance, I require full access to your diagnostic suite, the station's primary processing core, and all the coffee you have. Elias looked from the impossible problem to the determined princess. He saw the trap, but he also saw the path through it. You've got it, he said, a grin spreading across his face. But why do I get the feeling you're going to solve this in 45 minutes just to annoy him? 30, she corrected, a fierce, beautiful smile transforming her face. He made us wait. Now, he can watch us work. The command center became a storm of activity, with Thalia at its epicenter. Her fingers flew across holographic interfaces, her mind moving at a speed that left the human engineers breathless. She wasn't just solving the problem. She was dismantling it, reverse engineering the creator's intent, exposing its flaws. He expects us to focus on the power core, she explained, her voice a rapid-fire staccato of brilliance. But the cascade doesn't start there. It's a lie. It begins here with a coolant leak, a single insignificant valve designed to fail. He's testing our ability to see past the noise. Elias worked beside her, not as an engineer, but as a facilitator. He rerouted power, boosted processors, and kept the coffee flowing, acting as her hands in the physical world while her mind danced in the quantum realm. He saw the looks from the other crew members, awe mixing with disbelief. Who was this woman? Is it just me? Or does genius-level intelligence make for a terrible conversationalist? You ask how their day is, and they start explaining temporal mechanics. With 10 minutes to spare, a solution solidified. It was elegant, efficient, and utterly brilliant. But as they prepared to transmit the data, a new alarm blared. This one was real. The geothermal tap was going critical. Vorlag's simulation was a distraction. He was never going to let them succeed. The real test was survival. He's overriding the safety protocols remotely, a frantic engineer shouted. The core is going to breach. Panic erupted. Vorlag's face appeared on the main screen, a portrait of cold, calculated victory. A pity. It seems your time has run out. No, Thalia said, her voice ringing with absolute authority. It has not. She turned to Elias. The solution to the simulation. It wasn't just for the simulation. It's a universal dampening algorithm. It can be adapted. Get me a direct physical link to the geothermal regulator. Now. There was no time to argue. Elias grabbed a plasma cutter. The main conduit is 3 decks down. It's suicide to go down there. Rostova yelled. It's suicide to stay here. Elias shot back, already moving. He and Thalia raced through corridors shaking with the station's death throes. Down in the engineering core, the heat was a physical blow. The roar of the dying machine was deafening. Elias sliced through a wall panel, exposing the glowing heart of the conduit. I need to manually interface. Thalia shouted over the noise. Hold me steady. Elias wrapped his arms around her waist, anchoring her as she reached into the torrent of raw energy, her fingers dancing over controls no organic being was ever meant to touch. On the screen, Vorlag's smug expression faltered, replaced by disbelief. What is she doing? That's impossible. Elias watched as Thalia, the unwanted daughter, the political joke, wrestled with the sun. Light and data flowed around her, through her. She wasn't just inputting a solution, she was becoming the solution. The violent shuddering of the station lessened. The roar softened to a hum. The red alerts across the board flickered, then turned green. Silence. She collapsed back into his arms, exhausted but triumphant. Back on the bridge, Lord Vorlag was speechless. The station was not only stable, its energy output had increased by 17%. Thalia's algorithm hadn't just saved them, it had perfected them. Tell your emperor, Commander Rostova said, her voice dripping with ice, that humanity appreciates the gift. We will be keeping her. A week later, a new message arrived. It was not from Vorlag. It was from Emperor Kaelen himself. His holographic form materialized in Elias's workshop, where Thalia was now a permanent fixture. Daughter. The Emperor's voice was heavy with a tone she had never heard from him before. Respect. Lord Vorlag has been reassigned. Your solution has revolutionized our own energy systems. The Imperium was blind. I was blind. I am offering you the position of Chief Imperial Science Advisor. You will be celebrated. Your name will be etched into our history. Come home. The offer hung in the air. Everything she had ever been denied. Recognition, power, redemption. She looked at the Emperor, then at the grease-stained mechanic who stood beside her. She looked at the workshop that had become her sanctuary, and at the man who had seen a queen when everyone else saw a flaw. No, father, Thalia said, her voice clear and strong. Elias's heart stopped. You are not offering me a home, she continued, taking Elias's hand in her own. You are offering me a promotion. I have already found my home. Here, with the clever apes who know the difference between value and perfection. She turned to Elias, her violet eyes shining. Besides, she whispered, a playful smile returning to her lips. Someone has to keep your coffee maker from exploding. It's a marvel of terrible engineering. Elias laughed, a real, deep laugh that echoed through the workshop. He pulled her close, the Emperor's sputtering, indignant hologram forgotten. In the vast, cold darkness of space, on a tiny station held together by grit and ingenuity, Two flawed beings from two different worlds had found something more perfect than perfection itself. They had found each other.